What's up, everyone? I'm Katrina Meni, and today we're going to be looking at one of my Workout Wednesday challenges. Let's hop into it. Can you create these quadrants? You can see here that we've got a scatter plot looking at our cities for our retail business based on the customer count and the order count. This makes it really easy to see some outliers of cities and locations that are doing really well, and then some others that maybe aren't doing so hot. So let's hop into a workbook. You can see here that I've got the instructions pulled up over on this side, and I've already added a data element to this workbook. So I'm going to delete this first step. For this challenge, we want to be looking at the order count and the customer count for each city. So whenever we're answering a for each or by question, we're going to be using groupings in Sigma. So what I want to do is create a group by statement in my table. So I'm just going to pull this and we're going to do the state first, and then we'll do city because state is obviously a higher geographical item in a hierarchy in comparison to city. Next, we're going to create a distinct count of our order number and a customer so we can get the order and customer count. I've got my order number field here, so I'll pull that up into the group by statement. Then I'm going to change the aggregation to count distinct. And then down at the bottom of my list, I've got customer name. So I'm going to pull that in as well. And again, change this aggregation to count distinct. All right. So I'm going to collapse these so we can see a little more detail. We've got our customer name and our order count. I'm going to quickly format these just so we don't forget. And I'll also rename them to order count and customer count. So let's hop back to our scatter plot. And one thing that we can see right away is that there are average lines for each axis here. And that kind of defines the quadrant for us. So we've got our top right, which is above both averages, versus our top left, which is above one average, but below, or above this average, but below that average. So next, what we want to do is identify or create the average calculations. Since these are overarching averages, I'm going to use a table summary, which is down at the bottom. You can find it by clicking this upward arrow. Next, I'm going to click the plus sign to create a new summary, and we're going to do the average of our order count and the average of our customer count. Next, we need to identify if an individual city is above or below both of these and assign a quadrant based on that. So I'm going to create a new calculation at this grouped level. And I've already got this calculation typed out, so I'm going to copy and paste it in, and then I'll walk you through what's happening. So we can see that we're creating an if statement with multiple criteria or multiple conditions. Again, we're looking at the four quadrants. So if the order count of the city is greater than the average order count overall, and the customer count is greater than the average of the customer count, then it should be the top right. If the order count is greater than the average, but this time the customer count is less than or equal to the average, then it should be bottom right. Next is if the order count is less than or equal to the average, but the customer count is greater than the average, then it should be top left. Otherwise, everything else is bottom left. So we'll click enter and we'll name this quadrants or quads or something simple. All right, so now I'm going to create my visualization or my scatter plot. So create a child element and choose scatter. And then what we're going to do is add in all of our measures and dimensions so we can make the scatter plot. I'm going to come back here. So we want order count. So this is just plain order count. We don't need to change that. But then for the customer count, we don't want Sigma to be summing it because there might be some duplications or something. I just tend to kind of default to removing the aggregations on scatter plots. Either that or you could do an average of something. So it's matching the analysis that we're doing. Next, we want to color by the quadrant. So I'm going to pull color in here. And you can see all of our quadrants are listed out here as well as colored individually. But next, I want to identify what city this is. So what I'll do is move the store state and the store city into our tooltip. And we can see that Sigma again is defaulting to an aggregation. So I'm just going to remove the aggregation on there. So now we have individual cities and states labeled on our dots. Next, what we'll do is create the average lines. So we're going to come to the element formatting, and these are reference marks. So we can look here and we can see that they're referencing the average. We'll click Add New, Reference, and we'll start with the y-axis. And instead of a constant number, we do want to do an average of a column. Since this column is already in our data source, we can just choose this. You could also choose custom formula and then identify that one if you wanted to go that way. But for our y-axis, we want to do the customer count. All right, so we can see that that is the top or bottom of our quadrants. And then we're going to just do some formatting. It was dashed on there. And then we also want to show the value. So I'm just clicking the show value box. And I think I had just put average like that. So all right, our average is 185. And then there's a handy option to duplicate. So we'll save some time and do that. But instead, we want to move it to the x-axis. And again, we want to choose the average of something. So we're going to do the order count this time. And so now we can see this one is available there. Oops, we've got two colons. Let's go back and remove those. All right, let's go back to the original challenge so we can see what else we have to do. Next, we need to add some labels. So we'll come up to, not data labels, x-axis. And this one we want to add a title to for order count. And then same for the y-axis, we've got customer count. Next, we want to remove the zero grid line and we want to hide these. This is just personal preference. I think it looks cleaner when it's empty like this. And then last, there was an option to make it a dark format. So again, I think that the colors just kind of pop better on a dark background for a scatter plot. So I'm going to come to the workbook settings and we'll go to font or color. Could choose a dark one up here, but you also have some more options over here. We'll just choose that one. Maybe this one. That one looks pretty close. If you want to match exactly to what I had, we can go to the element formatting and go background, click background, and then you can use the new pick a color and kind of choose there or type in your own color. I think that is basically everything. Let's move this to a new page. And all right, we do need to update the title to better identify what we're doing. I hope you enjoyed this week's challenge. I really enjoy creating and using scatter plots in Sigma. They're very easy to build, but still very impactful. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.